When you hear the word energy, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
I think about all the times in the summer heat where I take advantage of the air in my house that I wouldn't have without the energy to produce it, because then I would be very, very hot.
When I hear the word energy, the first thing that comes to my mind is some sort of a power, whether that's mechanical, chemical, nuclear, or even physical power.
Energy is the ability to do work or cause change. Now, in science, work isn't actually, going to your job and doing your job. Work is when you transfer energy. So we'll use that term when we talk about energy. So energy is the ability to do work or cause change. We measure energy in this silly little word. It's called joules. It's spelled Joules. People pronounce it different, joules, however you want to pronounce it, that you will remember it, but that is what we measure energy in. There are two types of energy that we're going to be discussing in this unit, and they are kinetic energy and potential energy. So I'm going to start off talking about kinetic energy first. Kinetic energy is the energy of motion. So there are two factors that affect kinetic energy, and these factors are mass and speed. Mass is how much matter is in the object. So an object with more matter will have more kinetic energy. And again, speed is another factor. So when thinking about kinetic energy, mass and speed are two factors. I'm going to show you an example of kinetic energy right now. So like I said, these baseballs are of the same exact mass. If I set them down and I roll them, tell me which one has more kinetic energy now. Remember, kinetic energy is the energy of motion. The dirtier looking baseball had more kinetic energy because it was traveling at a greater speed. Now, potential energy is stored energy, so that potential energy has the potential to turn into kinetic energy. It has the potential to move. So if you're sitting at the top of a roller coaster and you're not moving it, that roller coaster has the potential to start going downhill. It has all of that energy built up, stored, and ready to go. There are two forms of potential energy. So potential and kinetic energy are types of energies. There are several forms of energy that I'm going to talk about in the next video, but potential energy has two forms. They are gravitational potential energy and elastic potential energy. Gravitational potential energy has to do with height. So it's about how high an object is. And elastic potential energy has to do with stretching and compression. So compression is kind of when you smush something together, and then the stretching. So they're the two forms of potential energy. Okay, so speaking of potential energy, I have two baseballs. One's a little dirtier than the other, but they're the same mass, they're the same everything. If I held one here and I had held one here, which one has more potential energy? The one in my right hand has more potential energy. This one, because it's higher, so it has more gravitational potential energy. This has more potential to hurt my foot if I dropped it on my foot than this ball that's lower. Okay, good. Now in the next video, I'm going to show you how potential and kinetic energy combine to create total energy. So at any given point, your kinetic energy plus your potential energy will equal your total energy. And I will show you me shooting a basketball.
While holding the ball in my hand, the ball has potential energy, but the second I release it, it transforms into kinetic energy up until the highest point. We learned gravitational potential energy has to do with height, so at the highest point of that basketball, it stops moving for a second, so that's the most potential energy right there. Lowest point before it hits the ground, it has the most kinetic energy because it's moving the fastest and it has the least potential energy there.